In the middle of a terrifying storm, the disciples thought they were about to die, until they saw something impossible, Jesus Christ walking on the water toward them. This is the story. On a quiet evening, after a long and exhausting day, the air around the Sea of Galilee began to cool. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, leaving streaks of orange and purple across the sky. The crowd that had followed Jesus Christ all day was finally dispersing. Then Jesus Christ turned to his disciples. His voice was calm, but firm. "Go ahead of me, get into the boat, and cross to the other side of the sea." The disciples looked at each other. They didn't fully understand. Why wasn't he coming with them? Why send them alone? But they had learned something about Jesus. When he speaks, you obey. So they nodded and began to move. Among them was Peter, strong, bold, always ready. He stepped into the boat with the others, pushing it gently away from the shore. The water was calm at first, smooth, almost like glass. The boat glided quietly as they began their journey. For a moment, everything felt normal, safe. But sometimes, storms don't give warnings. Not long after they had gone far from land, the wind began to blow. Soft at first, just enough to move the water a little. But then, it grew stronger and stronger. The peaceful sea slowly began to change. Small waves turned into bigger ones. The boat started to shake. The disciples grabbed their oars, trying to stay in control. "Row harder," someone shouted. They pushed with all their strength, but the wind kept fighting back. Now the sky was completely dark. The wind was loud, almost screaming. The waves crashed against the boat again and again. Water splashed inside. The boat rocked wildly. Some of these men were fishermen. They knew the sea. But this storm? This was different. This was stronger than anything they expected. Time passed. 1 hour, then another, and another. But the storm did not stop. Their arms were tired. Their bodies were weak. And slowly, fear began to fill their hearts. They looked around at each other. No one said it out loud, but they were all thinking the same thing. Where is Jesus? He wasn't in the boat. He wasn't there to calm the storm. He had sent them ahead, alone. Or so it seemed. It was now very late into the night. The storm was still raging. The wind was still howling. Then suddenly, one of the disciples looked out into the distance. "Wait, do you see that?" First, it was hard to tell. Just a shape moving across the water. They stared harder, trying to understand what they were seeing. But the more they looked, the more confused they became. It looked like a person, walking on the water. Fear hit them instantly. "It's a ghost!" one of them shouted. Panic spread quickly. Their hearts began to race. Their voices trembled. Nothing about this made sense. People don't walk on water. Not in the middle of a storm. Not in the middle of the night. They were already afraid of the storm. Now they were terrified of what they were seeing. Then suddenly, through the loud wind, through the crashing waves, a voice spoke, clear. "It is I. Do not be afraid." The moment they heard that voice, everything changed. They knew that voice. It was Jesus Christ. He wasn't far away. He wasn't lost. He was right there, walking on the water. The disciples were shocked, amazed, confused. How could this be happening? But Peter stepped forward. His eyes locked on Jesus. "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you on the water." The others stared at him. Step out of the boat? Into this storm? It sounded impossible. But Jesus looked at him and said one simple word, "Come." Peter took a deep breath. The wind was still blowing. The waves were still crashing. But he made a decision. He stepped out of the boat, one foot, then the other, and suddenly, he was standing on the water, not sinking, not falling, standing. He looked at Jesus and began to walk, step by step, moving closer. For a moment, He was doing something no one had ever done before. But then, Peter looked around. He noticed the strong wind. He saw the waves rising higher. He felt the power of the storm again. And fear came rushing back. His heart began to race. His thoughts changed. What am I doing? This is impossible. And in that moment, he took his eyes off Jesus Christ. Slowly, Peter began to sink. The water that once held him now pulled him down. Fear filled his voice as he cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand. He grabbed Peter. He lifted him up. He didn't let him drown. He didn't let him disappear beneath the waves. He saved him. Then gently, he said, "Why did you doubt?" Not in anger, but in love. A reminder. Peter had walked on water, but fear had made him forget. Together, they walked back to the boat. The disciples watched in silence, still in shock, still trying to understand everything they had just seen. The moment Jesus stepped into the boat, the wind stopped, the waves became still, the storm ended. Just like that, the disciples fell to their knees. Their fear was gone. Now they were filled with awe. They looked at Jesus and said, "Truly, you are the Son of God." And here is the truth. Life will bring storms, moments when everything feels out of control, moments when fear tries to take over. But this story teaches us something powerful. As long as Peter kept his eyes on Jesus Christ, he walked on water. But the moment he focused on the storm, he began to sink. Maybe you're going through something right now. Maybe life feels heavy, confusing, even scary. But remember this, Jesus sees you, even in the storm. And if you start to sink, all you have to do is call out. Because just like he did for Peter, he will reach out his hand and save you.